I mean, that's different to what Mark Drake said, that's all.
A law which is not without controversy.
OK, we've got someone in the audience who actually has faced the security agencies and the courts on these issues, named Zaky Mallah. He's got a question for us.
As the first man in Australia to be charged with terrorism under the harsh Liberal Howard government in 2003, I was subject to solitary confinement, a 22-hour lockdown, dressed in most times in an orange overall and treated like a convicted terrorist while under the presumption of innocence. I had done and said some stupid things, including threatening to kidnap and kill, but in 2005 I was acquitted of those terrorism charges. Question to the panel: what would have happened if my case had been decided by the Minister himself and not the courts?
Steve Chabot.
So I'm not familiar with the circumstances of your case. I remember certainly seeing video of comments that the questioner asked, but from memory, I thought you were acquitted on a technicality rather than it being on the basis of a substantial finding of fact. I could be wrong, but that's my...
Well, I mean, I'll go back to Zaky. I mean, you did in fact plead guilty to making these threats. You just mentioned death threats to Commonwealth officials, and you were convicted of that, so you are admitting to that, but it's the other side of the coin. You were not convicted in the end on any terrorism charges. That's correct?
I was charged with planning a terrorist attack in Sydney in 2003 and was acquitted by the Supreme Court jury in 2005 of those charges. However, as a plea bargain happened, I pleaded guilty to threatening to kill ASIO officials.
OK.
I got to tell you, Tony, my understanding of your case was that you were acquitted because at that point in time the laws weren't retrospective. But I'm happy to look you straight in the eye and say that I'd be pleased to be part of a government that would say that you are out of the country as far as I'm concerned.
Rubbish.
I'm telling you, I would sleep very soundly at night with that point of view.
As an Australian, I would be happy to see you out of this country.
OK, Joel,
but hang on, Tony.
Yeah, okay.
The difference is I haven't threatened to kill anybody. I haven't threatened to kill people that put their lives on the line for the values that this country represents. And so, in that sense, with the greatest of respect to you, my understanding... Well, no, my understanding... I don't apologise for this point of view. My understanding is that the reason you got off terrorist offences was because they weren't retrospective in application, and that's the only reason.
But don't you think we have courts to decide these things, not ministers? That's why we have courts.
OK, but... So the difference here is that, and this is, I mean, up until just when Joel spoke about Labor's position, my understanding was that Labor required a conviction. So, I mean, I'm pleased that Joel's overruled the Shadow Attorney General. But the position is this: do we allow people, or do we require people to come back into Australia and pursue a criminal conviction? Or do we say, no, a minister can do that based on intelligence advice, based on the advice of others?
Imagine the danger we're going to put some of the judges in.
Can I just go, if you don't mind, I'll just go quickly back to Zaky Mallah, because he in fact did go to Syria, but he fought with the Free, or I don't know if you fought with them, but you were with the Free Syrian Army, who of course backed by the United States.
I didn't fight for the Free Syrian Army. I went there to meet the Free Syrian Army and go to the front lines and see what the war was all about, and I had recorded all my experiences in Syria, and it's all been uploaded on YouTube, so it's all there. But I went to Syria to experience the situation for myself and why the uprising had begun. But I just want to say a comment before this little discussion ends, is that...
If you're quick about it.
Yeah, sure. The Liberals now have just justified to many Australian Muslims in the community tonight to leave and go to Syria and join ISIS because of ministers like him.
OK. I think that's a comment we're just going to rule totally out of order. I'm sorry about that. We're just about to end the show. I don't think there's really much more to say at this point. Steve, do you want to respond to that quickly?
Well, I mean, look, I stand by what I said. As best as I know, your circumstances, the comments you've made, the threats you've made that you've pleaded guilty to me, more than justify the concerns that the government has. And, I think that it is very wrong, frankly, for you to portray the Muslim population as all being incentivised to do those things. Because, let me tell you, I know a lot of Muslims, they're very good people, and I think that they would be recoiling at what you just said.
OK. Now, I'm sorry we've just gone over time, so sorry to do this, but that's all we have time for tonight. Please thank our panel.